Yeah, we are live.
All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're at in this crypto world. My name is Cody, and I am joined by a bunch of rough hooligans here. No, I'm just kidding. This is the L1X team, and we're excited to come to you from the uh, all different parts of the world, I guess you could say. And we're excited for this community AMA. We've got a lot of great content to cover today. So, without further ado, we'll turn it over to our founder, leader, Kevin. Go for it, my friend.
Yep. Thanks, Cody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to wherever you are. Welcome back to the L1X AMA. Um, it's been, you know, a crazy start to the quarter two this year. Um, More intensity, more work, and a lot of things lined up. And in this AMA, I'm very excited to go across a few things, a few alphas in there as well. And I couldn't be more happier, because all the things that we were planning for a very long time, everything coming to life. And of course, one firm step at a time. So without maybe any, further delay, I'll just share my screen and get into it. Okay, share my screen. All right. Can you guys see my screen?
Yep.
Perfect. Okay, I think let's turn the things around a little this time. Maybe Leo, if you want to get started.
Yeah. Perfect. So direct swap upgrade. This should go out on Monday evening, AWST. Right. So you'll be accessing more networks to what we have right now. And the best thing about this is accessible on your phones as well. So we are giving more users access to our L1X swap, and there will be more liquidity available as well. So no issues like before, where you had a certain number of liquidity available. We have enhanced the security features as well. We have set rate limiters as well. So anytime a swap was performed and it failed for certain reasons, so those issues have been fixed as well and will be released on Monday. Can we proceed to the next screen, please, Ken? Yep. The next that we are releasing soon by end of next week is the zero fee calculator. So this will give all the NFT holders an idea of how much they can save if they're holding an NFT. And for those who do not have an NFT, can go and quickly calculate with their average number of swaps and average swap value and what is the best suited NFT. So each NFT has certain benefits, of course. And if you can see on the screen, okay, so you cannot see the pawn NFT over there. But if you have the pawn NFT, you will be basically saving something out of what you'll be actually spending, right? So if your annual swap fee is $50, you might be saving $10 if you own a pawn NFT. But instead, if you're holding a king NFT, you might be earning more because, as you all know, if you all hold an NFT, you all get those multiplier points which you can swap into L1X and liquidate your L1X as well, right? And the other thing is you receive those points on a regular basis as well. So even if you don't perform an action, you always receive points for holding the NFT. That's all from my side, Kevin.
Yeah, thanks for that. I love how Lionel has put together a nice graphic for this. Okay,
Thank you.
that's where the time has been going, I guess, from the dev side. Okay, let's address the big elephant in the room: partnership with UWA. Previously, I mentioned that this partnership would come into place, and it has, successfully come into place. And thanks to UWA for reposting our tweet as well. And this partnership is basically going to focus upon quantum resistant cross chain messaging. And at the same time, we are bringing in academic researchers who are into cryptography, who are into quantum computing, who are focused on Web3 and blockchain or any other decentralized ledger technology as well. So, the main aim from this specific research is coming up with industry standard material where we will be using that to back up our tech, number one. And number two, there are multiple different industrial partners that UWA has, including Western Australia being one of the biggest mining hub in the world, where these kind of companies always look for quantum secure technologies or some kind of ledger secure technologies for the future as well. So it will definitely give us some good prospects that we can work with in piloting our tech as well. And at the same time, quantum-based resistancy. I was speaking to one of the advisor of a layer one today, and who claimed to be a quantum resistant tech until he spoke to us, and Ron is smiling there. So there are so many moving parts to the quantum resistancy angle. I'll get into probably a little bit details later on, when you guys can tolerate me geeking out. But there are so many moving parts to it that has to be looked at, from a holistic perspective. But being, the first in the industry to actually even pick something like this up and releasing a white paper, with UWA attached to it, definitely gives it a lot of credibility. And we are looking forward to, getting the research and industrial prospects out of this partnership as well. Moving on, we have upgraded the L1X Foundation website. So our tagline of unifying blockchains and future-proofing for quantum, as it demonstrates the road ahead. It also has a lot of different content that we have tried to fit into the, the website, where one of the main angle to this was, putting the quantum resistancy angle first and in a consumable manner. So the website has been built in a layered, structure where if you just want to go and read a little bit about it, you can. But if you want to extend onto a certain topic as well, that's also possible. So if you haven't visited it, I definitely recommend going to L1X.Foundation. A lot of new content has been, uploaded in there. And if you have any recommendations, please drop it down. But I highly recommend go and try out the new website as well. With regards to the NFT staking, a very few projects have actually approached the Uniswap version 3 onwards staking feature. So now if you go and deposit liquidity onto Uniswap L1X ETH pool, your NFT that you get, you can go and stake it where you will earn rewards into USDT. So if you have not gone and checked this out on L1X app, I highly recommend doing that as well. Very few projects are actually allowing for this because it's different than farming your token. The reward token that you get by staking, or the receipt token, is the ERC 721 standard. And now you can go and stake it as well on L1X app. The other update is TaskON is actually going to apply into the hackathon. They've already sent in a proposal as well. And with multiple different projects coming on to the protocol, and as you will see later down the line in this presentation, how we are actually trying to create a cohesive environment for these guys coming on. TaskON is going to integrate with L1X Core, which will allow us multiple things, but a few of them are boosting on-chain engagement. Now, what this will do is it will allow users from TaskON to directly stake into the L1X Core, allow users to do transactions on the protocol straight away. And more importantly, we are also going to integrate our swap into TaskON. So, if you had to receive payments from or spend on a campaign on TaskON, if you wanted to, do up a task on TaskON regarding your project for swap into your token on the destination chain, you will be able to facilitate all this as a project on TaskON as well. That will increase the number of transactions that we do through swaps, and so that will increase the fees and more liquidity going into the release pool as well. Of course, we also have the ecosystem growth where projects that are going to be building with us, they will go and to TaskON, and they will have the ability to reward their users or external users with the project token as well. So this definitely helps because this opens up avenues for projects already on TaskON as well to come and deploy on the protocol. Of course, they also have a lot of campaigns that they do. One of them is some kind of Odyssey campaign where they will be pushing for development on L1X. And these campaigns are seen by more than a couple of million users, but also hundreds of different projects out there on TaskON as well. Now, one of the things that we are actually integrating with TaskON is the ability for taking any project and issuing their coins or tokens onto multiple different networks. And we do have an alpha later down the line in the presentation on how we are extending the ability of the XMNAIS, which is letting a project issue their coins on multiple different networks. But not only that, what do they do next after that? So this specific solution, which will be kind of a plug and play for projects, will be advocated by TaskON, because TaskON gets a lot of projects that have not even considered doing their TGE yet onto multiple different networks. And this will allow TaskON to provide a white label solution to these kind of projects as well. So our focus on B2B2C is in place with regards to this particular standard. Okay, moving on to the next one, CX and DX listings for Q2 2025. Good news, CoinDCX has approved our listing in India, which is the biggest tier 1 exchange in India, having more than 16 million users. That is more than Kraken. And we are working with these guys to come up with a plan in terms of not only listing, but how do we even market L1X to the users in India, where India having the maximum number of crypto users across the world. The other one is, Mike and I are closely working with a CEX in Indonesia. Unfortunately, we can't give you the name of it until things roll out a little bit further. But to give you a perspective, to list in Indonesia, you have to whitelist with the government first, and then you can list it on a CEX. This particular CEX is the biggest CEX in Indonesia. It's a tier 1 in Indonesia, and they are helping us whitelist with the Indonesian government. So they are handling an application with the Indonesian government. If you know who it is, great. But if you don't, they are a tier 1 based out of Indonesia. Yeah. The next one is L1X on Base and listing on Aerodrome. A lot of user base is being very active on Base, and I think we don't want to miss out that wave on Base. So we are planning to list on Base as well, and mint our coin on Base and list it on Aerodrome. We will be doing it with our own multi-network asset issuance standard itself first, and then we will list it on Base, which we are expecting to complete by Q2 this year as well. And of course, we are going to list on Quantum Dex as well. For those of you who do not know what Quantum Dex is, we'll talk about it a little bit further down the line. But to be honest with you, it's supposedly going to be one of the biggest dexes in the world one day. Anyhow, let's move on. The roadmap. Let me bring out my pen. Okay. Now, we upgraded the website in this month. We established the official partnership with the University of Western Australia. We also did Uniswap LP staking with daily rewards on L1X app. On 8th of May, sorry, let's just go back to this month first. We're excited. Anyhow, on 14th of April, as Lionel mentioned, we have the direct swap upgrade coming up with 35 plus networks that will be supported. And as he mentioned, this will be available on the phone as well. So regardless of the network you want to swap and the amount you want to swap, you will be able to do it from your phone directly, which is a pretty big upgrade, in itself for L1X swap. On 17th of April, we have the zero fee swap coming in, where the whole agenda of zero fee swap is to, kind of create, is to lower our customer acquisition cost by, creating awareness about the L1X swap, bringing the users in. And if you hold an NFT and over a period of time, if you, calculate the difference in between how much you spend on gas to perform a cross-chain swap in your entire 12 months life, versus how much you can earn back as rewards, actually you will be netting out, in such a situation if you hold a specific NFT. So that's giving boost to the NFT structure out as well. On 21st April, we have the Xtalk upgrade and the Xtalk open sourcing. The team is working really very hard on making this happen. It's a very big upgrade coming in, but at the same time, why it's important is also because we've got the multi-network asset issuance standard coming up, which is one of a kind. It will let projects list their coins onto multiple different networks as well. But along with that, we also have the ability of liquidity abstraction. I will get into this in another AMA as to how that works, or how this is going to, allow projects to have liquidity across multiple different, dexes and abstract it away into a global pool. But for now, the multi-network asset issuance standard is going to start with letting projects list on multiple networks and then roll that feature as an upgrade into the liquidity abstraction side of things. The one-stop wallet profiler, we are upgrading it, and we want to make sure that it's a seamless experience. But at the same time, if you see on 17th April, L1X app is getting a whole new design upgrade. So the reason we are doing that is because we have seen heat maps in terms of how users navigate the system. And on a scale of 1 to 10, if L1X app is 6, 6.5, 7, in terms of accessibility, we want to take that number and make it 9 out of 10. So we have learned from what users like and do not like on L1X app, and we are giving it a whole new upgrade. The dock is going out in certain places, but there's a whole new menu system coming into place, which is going to make it much more easier for you to navigate. It was a very hard decision for me. I couldn't see the dock going, but for users having seamless, ability to maneuver along the L1X app, we had to do it, but you're going to love it. On 8th of May, we have the L1X App Store coming up. So we'll talk about this again in the next AMA, but the App Store basically is compartmentalizing L1X app from the perspective of, we don't want to do everything. We want to focus on to certain things that we are good at, and we want to delegate away certain responsibilities that will lead into more transaction, more liquidity coming onto the protocol. So the App Store is going to allow you to go and check what applications are currently building, where they are at in the building stage, what applications to expect, and more importantly, this is also going to allow users, a single space for application, manually. Because if you have a tokenization platform, if you've got a trading bot, you've got the swap, you've got the stake, all into a single space. Yeah, you don't have to keep connecting wallets onto multiple different places. It will definitely help, but more importantly as well, it's cross-pollinating the users across various projects, which we definitely require in order to reduce our customer acquisition cost and do justice to the projects building on it as well. Before I get into the next one, and the next one is a little bit of alpha, and it's going to create some noise in the community. Anything anyone would like to say?
We do have a few questions if you want to get to those real quick, so we don't lose them.
Yeah, I think let's take it at the end.
Okay.
Probably once
I'll make note of these. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, thanks, Cody. Thank you. Okay, great. So if no one has anything to add, let's move on to the next one. Now, we've got projects that are building up with us. We've got the quantum resistance angle. We've got the release pool where liquidity has to come in. We've got more number of users and transactions we need to progress with. And apart from that, we have to make sure that we make it economical enough for us, as a layer one, to keep doing this over a period of time, right? And one of the most important component of any project building out layer one is the DEX. So we are going to introduce a DEX, but we are going to do it differently. And the way we are going to do it is we are going to strip away a lot of features from L1X app, and we are going to combine certain features from layer 1X app and create zones into it. And one of the zone that we are going to create is called quantum DEX. Now, what is quantum DEX? Right? Quantum DEX will be the world's first quantum secure bridgeless decentralized exchange on L1X. It is going to be designed to unify liquidity across chains through liquidity abstraction feature. And of course, it's going to enable seamless token issuance for projects, letting them create liquidity pools on layer 1X and cross-chain trading and staking as well without bridges, custodials, or wrapped assets. And why is this important? Like, why through L1X app? Why are we doing this through L1X app? We need to tap into what we already built, what we already spent so many hours upon. We spent so many dollars, getting this. I think someone's keyboard is yes. Okay. So many hours, getting this across the line, right? So of course, tapping into the user base is one thing. The other one is unifying the liquidity experience. Now, what happens over here is we just don't want to launch a DEX, the way a user thinks as an external feature. We want to actually go out there and launch a DEX on L1X app, calling it Quantum DEX, because we want to abstract the liquidity, feature. We want projects to use this specific feature because that is one of the biggest problems in DeFi today, which is liquidity abstraction. Liquidity is abstracted at all over the place. We made an expost as to how that specific thing works, but the prime feature on Quantum DEX is going to be liquidity abstraction by creating liquidity pools on this specific DEX for projects wanting to build on layer 1x, and even for projects that do not want to build on layer 1x. Right now, of course, we have a lot of projects being built right now. We will have the multi-network asset issuance standard going out, and all these kind of projects want some specific place to host their liquidity into. This specific DEX is going to be that native place on layer 1x to host your liquidity. And of course, the revenue coming out, right? The revenue will be distributed between the L1X app NFT holders, the release pool, the L1X coin holders, and the LP providers. One of the things that we are going to do with the Quantum DEX is we are going to integrate the L1X swap natively into it. So if you are actually, as a project, if you are actually issuing out a pool, with your token onto multiple network, and if somebody comes on L1X swap, which is going to be a part of the Quantum DEX, it can route the tokens without you actually having all the liquidity onto one DEX. So if you have 20,000 on Ethereum, 20 on Binance, 20 on Solana, and then someone who wants to swap $50,000 on Ethereum, it will route the liquidity across the DEXs and allow the least price impact for the user as well. This specific DEX, of course, is also going to demonstrate our first quantum secure prototype. Now, when I say that, what I mean by that is there are a lot of moving parts with regards to quantum resistancy. One angle is building the quantum resistancy plug and play solution for projects. The other angle is providing it for L1X app. The first one is it's going to provide it for L1X app, where we are going to partner up, with a few projects out there to bootstrap liquidity onto the DEX to build it further in terms of getting more users as well. But the first prototype in terms of a true quantum resistant DEX is where Quantum DEX is going to be positioned into with liquidity abstraction feature. So the features you are going to see in the DEX, including the swap and the stake, you will not find it on any other DEX. That is why we have picked up the initiative to compartmentalize L1X app and have a specific zone called Quantum DEX. What is the other angle? The other angle is the multi-network token issuance with liquidity abstraction model. This is going to do what release pool did to the tokenomics, what release pool did to the price. This is going to do two projects for us. All the projects that want to go multi-network, they want to actually, they don't have that kind of budget that they can have liquidity all across the networks. They can use this specific feature, right? And I keep saying this because this is going to be the default liquidity layer on the L1X protocol, and L1X is going to be used as the universal gas fee over here, bringing in more demand for the L1X coin as well. So more information about the DEX will be shared with you, later down the line. But the development of it, the look and feel of it has already started because we have the L1X App Store, we have the Quantum DEX as well attached to it. Now, in terms of projects building with us, our sole focus is making sure that L1X is the universal gas fee and we generate enough transactions to create more liquidity into the release pool as well. Any thoughts, anyone?
No, I think what we're looking at there, Kevin, and the stuff that we're working through with regards to not just the quantum resistance, it's so needed out there in blockchain. I come from a background in cryptography. I understand, probably a lot more than most out there. And one of the things that stands out when you talk about encryption is it's never about that something's uncrackable. It's a matter of about time, how long it takes to crack it. And the compute power that is required. Now, once we hit quantum computing and that starts to become more mainstream, I won't say out there in the private hands, but in the commercial world, it's going to be very easy for organizations to take on that level of computing power and actually start cracking a lot of the blockchain, the algorithms, and the encryption of private keys, etc. So we need to have quantum resistance in there. We've got to improve that level of encryption. And when you start talking about DeFi, it becomes so obvious that you look at the hacks that have occurred even recently. If you look through the website now, the new pages, it identifies some of the hacks that have occurred and talking about it. And I actually had a talk with Ernst & Young only a week or two ago about some of those hacks and the sort of things that L1X is doing to circumvent it around the quantum encryption. So applying that across through the DEX means that we're going to have a very strong value proposition out there for users. Anybody that's ever lost anything on a DEX or on a CEX, and God knows there's billions of those out there, billions of dollars lost, it's needed. We've got to have this. So I think we're at the forefront of that, all that work.
To add to that as well, it's been interesting as I've been out participating in quite a few different AMAs over the weeks, bringing up this quantum interoperability that we're focused on, this resistance. And it's really interesting to see, but that's like when talking to other bridges or bridging solutions, how much more this puts us our heads above the conversation, I guess you could say, because it gets a lot of people kind of now looking at us. It's that trigger thing that we've been looking for.
Yeah. And I think, going out there and just building a DEX is an easy thing to do, but going out there and building, a utility like a DEX where it has not been done before is the hardest thing. Like you could patch solutions and you could offer it, but are you actually solving a real world problem like liquidity abstraction? But that however hard that is, again doing it with quantum resistancy, which has never been done before. Both of these things not been done before, right? So that's where I think the partnership with UWA also comes in very helpful in terms of the academic research. And there are some, really good, researchers at UWA in Web3 as well that are very excited with this quantum DEX thing when I explain to them about what this can do.
Yeah, and just to put it into sort of easy to understand language for our users, any of you that, I'm sure every single one of us is using electronic banking, and if you go in there at the moment and you put in your password into the app, even on your telephone or on your computer, you're putting in a 5, 10, 20 character password. They even today they're not too difficult to crack those. If you start putting into context of, say, the equivalent of quantum resistance, it is the equivalent of putting in place your password, which could be every single word in a book. In comparison, so we're talking millions of characters in there instead of 10 or 20. So it introduces a level of resistance in there for it to be cracked that is just unprecedented, and that's what we need. We need to secure the network, and every network that's out there. It's not just L1X. It's every single network is at risk of quantum computing right now.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, with the L1X swap launch, with the, users coming on in the last 3 to 4 months, with the, networks being added to it and the liquidity and the number of transactions going through the swap, it just makes perfect sense to create a specific area and to upgrade it on L1X app directly. Because all these projects coming and building with us need a DEX. Like how are our users gonna buy their tokens if they are on L1X? Of course, they don't have to mint their token on L1X. But still, that is our main, that is our agenda as well, right? One of the most important things. So the quantum DEX we will mention about the timeline of it, but at the moment, liquidity abstraction and quantum resistancy demonstration on the protocol through the DEX, I think that's something that say, okay, is it worth $10? It was $100. Is it worth 500? Nobody can take a guess after that. Yeah. Okay. Now moving on. How are we going to do all this? Like, do we have the resources to do all this? I don't think we have the resources to do all this, right? So let's go through a few things that has already been done, and let me give you some analogy, right? Our journey so far, right? In 2021, we of course started off this research partnership with UWA on the L1X core side of things. And of course, 2023, we did the private sale and the public sale. 2025, we did the rights issue. Throughout the journey, we built the infrastructure. We have got it audited. We have open sourced the code. We've got transactions being processed. We've got unique users attached to it. We've achieved quite a lot of things, right? And I think I was speaking to one of the VC out there, and I was explaining to them the amount of things that we got done, right, in this timeline and with the resources we have. Probably, we would be one of the most capital efficient Web3 project out there, right, in terms of what has been done. So I was like, okay, let's put it into some numbers and see what does that look like, right? So in order to do a strategic raise around the whole quantum stuff, right, and to make sure that we generate enough momentum to fill up the liquidity pool in the release release pool contracts, a little bit of comparison is required, right? So Hedera, for example, and of course, I mean no offense to any of these protocols out here, they all are doing what they are capable of doing, but this is just to give you some perspective on it. Hedera raised a total of $286 million, right, in 5.5 years. Their listing price was 32 cents. Their current price is around 17 cents, which is around almost 50% down, right? Aptos, almost $350 million, which is almost minus 37%. Sui, $336 million. That's around 10% appreciation from the listing price and the current price. Layer Zero, of course, they've raised almost 265 million. XLR, almost 145 million. ICP, 195 million. The listing price was $428, and the current price is $4.98, almost a 99% down. How much has L1X raised? $12 million. Right. Now, if there is anyone over here who thinks that with the amount of money we raised, and if you compare it to the applications that we have and what we have built, if any of these protocols would have managed to do it with this kind of money, I am open to challenge that concept. Because they have spent more than this money just on audits. And more than 95% of their transaction volume comes from one single app. That means, well, we all know what that means. So in terms of the percentage of raise, we've raised like 4% of Hedera, 4% of like Layer Zero, 6% of ICP, 8% of like XLR, and we have reached this place, right? So I think that in itself is a huge milestone for all of us, not considering the fact that we listed at 15 cents, we are at $11. Of course, there's an appreciation here. And each and every person in this protocol has been tied up with their coins up to a certain extent anyways, right? And even if we had to loosen it up and you had minus 50% for your coin, I'm pretty sure you would want to lock it back up, right? So our goal of creating enough liquidity in terms of going from $11, it could be 100, right? Who cares? It could be 150, whatever that number is. But with volume, with net buy pressure coming into the release pool, we have to make sure that we are armed enough with the money. And $12 million versus $285 million versus $50 million for what we are planning to do. It's a joke, what we have done with this kind of money to reach this place. Maybe the Indian genes helped us in that, but it definitely worked, right? Now, that being said, what is our next step, right? What are we going to do? We're going to do a strategic raise of $25 million. And how are we going to do it? So we want to actually do this raise into two different parts. We want to go out there and raise this money from the VCs and financial institutions mainly, but we will also open it up for retail investors. Now, the tranche one of $5 million is going to be done at 90% discount to considered market price. Now, what is the considered market price that we have come up with is $10. 90% discount gives you a raise price of $1 with a cliff of 12 months and vesting of 18 months. Now, that's a huge cliff, and that's a huge vesting. Because this cliff does not start when you buy the coin. The cliff starts when the tranche one completes. So if it takes 2 months, if it takes 3 months, if it takes 1 month, the cliff begins the moment the tranche completes, right? Tranche 2, tranche 3, tranche 4, and tranche 5, similarly $5 million each. The difference is in the pricing. And of course, these numbers would change based on what the considered trading price is, but 65% will start from 90% or until 20%. I've seen quite a bit of projects out there do capital raises of 15 mil, 20 mil without even a product out there, right? And more importantly, we want to raise it from VCs and financial institutions at $1. And this is like a flipper. We didn't raise it from VCs at 10 cents and sell it to the people at $1, right? Again, with a cliff. We raised it from the community and we are offering this price to the VCs now, right? So it's harder than you think. More importantly as well, for the community members, 10% of all the raise amount is going to go into the release pool. So if you raise $25 million, $2.5 million is going to be deposited into the release pool for the community that have already staked their coin into the release pool. So I think more reasons for you to go out there and market this and share it on socials as much as you can. Now, what are we going to do with this money? We are going to split it between different sections. So the core development is going to take up 40% of it. So we're going to spend 10% on the core infrastructure, 15% on quantum development, 5% on L1X app because it's an application. And for the ecosystem development, we're going to spend 10% of it. For quantum DEX, we are going to keep 15% reserved, right? Because this is going to be a signature product that we start pushing out of L1X app. For the development, 2.5%, marketing 2.5%, and liquidity 10%. UWA will also contribute a little bit, to the quantum DEX or to the quantum resistancy in kind. Marketing and community building 20%, and the listing fee that we will have to pay will also come out of this specific budget over here. Right? So the listing fee ranges from $25,000, $75,000 all the way to $1 million at times. Operational expense, we're going to keep it at 15%. We're going to keep the team lean and clean, and treasury is going to hold 10%. So going back to the race, as I mentioned, we're going to split it in between retail and VCs, where we want VCs to take the larger chunk out of it. A whole total of $25 million for 8.82 million coins. Probably giving out less than 1% of the total supply. But this money is going to be used to create more liquidity, more transactions into the release pool. That is what we need to do. And of course, when you look back at this chart, what we are actually doing, what we actually proved with the money we raised, and what we are intending to do with partnerships already established and to be established, it makes perfect sense to do this. Any questions? Any questions?
I think once we start moving on through the decks and the various components in there, and then we look at the hackathon projects, we've got a number of those projects in there introducing AI elements around AI trading, AI arbitrage, and AI-based market making. When you start introducing those capabilities and we start then bringing in the likes of the quantum resistance, the liquidity aggregation, I think you start getting a product that is absolutely a game changer out there in industry. So we're very much looking forward to getting that out there. And if you can't see that, then just keep chatting on Discord and on social media, and we'll fill you in on more as we move forward with it.
That's right. Okay, moving on. 40 uses here.
Yeah, so over the last few weeks, we've had a little bit of a decrease in the amount of impression engagement that we've been getting, and it's primarily tied to one thing, and that is responses. And I can't emphasize enough how important it is to, when you see the posts from the L1X handle, that it's okay if you want to regurgitate that from your own handle and kind of come up with your own content. But it's really important to have you guys come in from an organic push, a grassroots kind of campaign, to have you come in and actually reply inside of our posts and actually add a little bit of meat to your comment rather than saying, I'm here, this L1X is a great project. Those are very boilerplate kind of things, and they actually get picked up as potential spam. So be mindful to what you're saying in there so that you guys don't get what's known as shadow banned from Twitter and all these various platforms. So add to the conversation, but get in there and reply. And as you can see from the previous 2 weeks on this chart, the amount of replies really helps us drive our impressions and our reach. And so the more we can do that, the better. And all those numbers will change. I can guarantee it by the end of next week if we just focus on one thing, and that is getting in and replying on the L1X posts. Go on to the next one. So here's a better breakdown of just the replies itself of what I was just talking about. But overall, I mean, we are doing really, really well on our impressions for us at a 2-week period. The amount of engagement rate is still extremely high compared to a lot of other brands that are out there. So kudos to you guys for getting in and participating. Like I said, we just want to refocus and be hyper focused on one particular task. And that one particular task is just getting in there and replying. Next slide. As I mentioned earlier, I've been jumping on quite a few different AMAs. Right now, we're still averaging right around 3 to 4 AMAs per day. That's either us hosting or us either participating in one as well. Our average listener count is about 500-600 per episode that we do, and that's live, and that's really good. We did see a huge spike in February, and that's because we were able to get on some pretty massive AMA spaces on X. And so that's why we have a little bit of a spike there. It's not a decline. I just want to emphasize that. It is just coming off of a huge spike. So obviously we're going to see a little bit of a drop off, but consistently we do really well. A lot of the other spaces and brands that are hosting are averaging anywhere from 75 to about 150 live listeners, and we're clear up to 540, which is primo. So keep attending, keep commenting on those spaces as well. Throw out questions, throw out GMs, whatever you can do, because every time you post a reply in there, that helps us reach the masses. And that's why we've been able to get so many live listeners on our weekly roundtable discussions that we have on Tuesdays at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And as well, we started a new show called the 10-Minute Pitch, which has been phenomenal. It's been great for us to kind of get to know a few other projects that are either up and coming, recently launched, or have been an existing project out there that we might be able to engage with and flip over to Ronnie and the BD team to kind of further develop that relationship. So it's turned out to be a really good channel for us in that aspect. So that one occurs every Wednesday at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and has really, again, helped us. So if you want to hear about those upcoming projects, if you're a crypto enthusiast looking for the next big projects to invest in, definitely check them out. This week, we also had a quick interview with the G-Starter guys, and great deep dive into their project. So highly recommend that you check that out. That will be listed on our X account, and if you just go through our profile, you'll be able to find it. They've got some pretty awesome things coming out as well, so I highly recommend you go listen to that. I think that's me.
Awesome, perfect. All right. On the hackathon, so this will be really quick. Quick update. Currently, the teams, they are in the build phase. We have established contact with almost all of the shortlisted entities. I think there were about 56 shortlisted, and we've established contact with over 45, and we are chatting with them. We have identified some projects that we've identified as can kind of go live quickly. And by that, we are defining, say, they can go live within 60 days. And there were 21 projects that fit that criteria. And so the way we are looking at that is that, these are projects which should have so minimal barriers to go live. And by that, what we mean is that if, say, there are projects out there that need a lot of supporting infrastructure, or if they need partnerships with, say, certain enterprises or institutions, then of course, they would need longer to go live. So that's kind of how we've shortlisted. And I think that's really exciting because, of course, the main piece that we have to show over here is that we have projects that are going live, and we've got to continuously demonstrate that. Kind of common themes across most of these quick go live projects, for lack of a better word, is most of them have an MVP built out. They are focused primarily on retail. And interestingly, a lot of them are leveraging Xtalk, which kind of ties back into, if the MVP is built out, they already have they've already built out an MVP, and now they're looking to grow cross-chain. So it kind of makes sense that a big reason why they looked at us was Xtalk. DeFi gaming and quote-unquote gambling are the dominant verticals. The focus for April over here really would be that we want to make sure that we keep unblocking the teams, and we help push forward from a build and a deployment perspective. And sort of just to give everybody an update, and the slide was prepared last night, but we had a discussion today, Kevin, Vivek, and I. And out of these projects, we have also now further identified certain projects which we feel could add a lot of utility from a tooling perspective, specifically to the chain, and they tie up very well with some of the other things that we have been doing. And by that, what I mean is, like, in general, when we already have a few things in place from an L1X app perspective, these projects sort of help add on to that, and can kind of help further build out the narrative. So we'll be doubling down on a few projects. And when I say we, what I really mean is that Kevin's going to start looking at some of these personally to keep pushing them forward. So that's a very quick update. Vivek, anything from your side? Not sure if Vivek is on. Is he?
Yeah, I think I'd just like to add to that. When we had a discussion today, it's like we don't have the complete houses of Legos, but we've got Lego blocks which we can use to create a great house. And I think the project scenario is the same one. For example, Ronnie, Vivek, and I, as we discussed today, there is a tokenization, platform building project. There is one that focuses on data tokenization and monetization strategy. There is the other one which focuses on marketplace, for certain types of assets. And there are various building blocks that are pretty common across these ones. So that's where me stepping in made sense. So we identified the common building blocks so that we can actually get these projects working together rather than them being separate and working out. So we'll be bringing these 4 to 5 projects together, and as I mentioned previously, them being on L1X app, so the users can actually even come in, look at swaps, look at the other angles to the L1X app as well. And the project that was looking at the data incentivization strategy, the space card system which we already have, made perfect sense. The token builder which we have, made perfect sense. So this is where we are actually pushing forward whatever we have already built to these projects and build on top of that. So we don't use our dev, but at the same time, we can kind of create a symbiotic relationship with already existing features that we have. Okay. All right. I think moving on to the coin performance, I think that is Mike.
Yep. Okay. So I think you'd have to be living under a rock to have not seen the political things that have been going on around the world with regards to certain individuals. And obviously we saw the week begin with a very sharp decline across most global markets. And I'm talking about in the traditional finance side, and the crypto markets have started catching up that with those shares and stocks in the terms of dynamics. If we look at the technical side of Bitcoin, the picture remains negative. If we combine that with other market metrics, we're leaning towards I'm guessing a neutral negative. I don't rule out the price dropping to about 65,000 within 1 to 2 months. But in saying that, I then looked at the monthly chart, and that shows what we call a double bottom. And that does give a very strong indication that a reversal is imminent. So it's quite interesting. If you jump on CoinMarketCap, I've actually got on my other screen at the moment, I didn't put a picture in there, but you turn it over to a 1 month and a linear chart, and you'll see quite a significant double bottom showing up. So what we're seeing there is that traders are trying to use a buy the dip strategy and are most likely expecting a short-term rebound. Now, that could also indicate that it'll be followed by a sharp decline after. So we could see that pulling back to 65,000. I've also put a chart in there, which is the choppiness index, the blue and black one, which analyzes a large number of technical parameters and shows the strength of the trend. Now, the index has changed direction sharply, indicating instability. So again, don't rule out that the midterm bottom of the market may not be that far away, but I still think it's could be heading towards 65,000. I'd love to be wrong. I think Bitcoin's performing particularly better than most assets, not just in the crypto market. We're seeing an acceleration of its dominance over other coins, which confirms the long-term theory of Bitcoin transforming into a risk-off type of asset. And it also suggests that we might see more coins heading towards an alignment with Bitcoin's dynamics. When we look at the L1X coin performance over the weekend, the price of L1X fell by about 12%, and then rebound to the current price of around $11.86 was the last time I saw it. That decline occurred against the background of a general decline across crypto. Further dynamics are highly dependent on the general sentiment. Look, the price continues to move within the channel, and the liquidity zones remain pretty much unchanged. We've seen some moderate volatility with a general upward trajectory, and that's prices been between about $10.28 and $12.23. So that does indicate that there's a strong consolidation phase still ongoing. When we look at the technical analysis side of that, the support and resistance, again, that covers off the same pricing around a range between $10.28 and $12.23. And if we then look at a moving average of that, which I haven't overlaid on there, my apologies, we see that the 20-day moving average would just provide a smooth perspective, and it really shows a consistent price across L1X. The community sentiment, I think, is very bullish. We've seen that by the token's overall 3.6% price increase, and we're outperforming the global crypto market, and that which declined by about 1.7% in the same period. So in reality, we're consolidating price within a range, and as we move forward with some of these other larger projects like the quantum resistance, the liquidity abstraction, the quantum DEX, all those capabilities start coming in. We get some of those projects out there with the AI. We should actually see some very strong consolidation and of price, and start to see some volume increase as well. Okay, yeah. Back to you.
Yeah. I think and again, with the release pool algo, we're keeping it a little conservative right now, because we don't want to enter into a territory where it looks like there's massive sell-off coming through, and at the same time, with all these things that are adding up, like I mentioned about the quantum DEX thing, where the multi-network asset issuance standard will be pushed. A lot of the release pool coins will be used to pair the coins into the pool as well. So as a project token, if you have to go and create a token pair on the quantum DEX, you could actually borrow coins from the release pool and pair it up. That allows two things. One is immediate liquidity to the projects for L1X coins. But on the other hand, it provides the release pool stakers to sell the coins based on the performance of the DEX. So it's all these things are like, coming together in a way where we thought about it a while ago, and probably, we should be in a pretty good, I mean, we are going good, but we should be in a better position, by the end of Q2 in the release pool to see more volume going in on a day-to-day basis, because once it picks up, it's stable, the way it's gonna pick up. And of course, from the capital raise, 10% of that going in, which will provide an immediate boost to it as well. Okay, I think we've got a couple of minutes left. Mike, or anyone else wants to add anything else?
I think from my side, I actually got an interesting request come through from one of our members, and that was they do a lot of work in the mining industry, and one of the publications wanted to put together an article. So I've actually been working on a separate article for that around blockchain and L1X and the DEX use in the mining industry. Now, if you look at it, the mining industry in Australia is, it's a $400 billion industry, and being able to put things like asset tokenization, raises, all sorts of things, supply chain management. There's so many use cases out there across the mining industry. It's a very, it's a global thing, but also to introduce alternative methods for investment and listing some of those. It could be listing some of those companies on the DEX. There's all sorts of possibilities out there. Again, that's just another article. Some of the extra work we're doing in the background to enhance the visibility and capabilities of L1X.
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay. So I think, go ahead.
So I've actually got a bail here in about 2 or 3 minutes for another AMA that I'm jumping on. So with that being said, I think that from my end, just keep up the good work, keep up the positive sentiment. If you guys do happen to have any questions on things that you could be doing, feel free to tag me. My handle is Cryptonaut22 across the board on Twitter and in Telegram and in Discord. So feel free to give me a shout out. I'm always happy to engage in conversation. So there are a couple of questions. If we are ready for that, we can jump into those. If not, I've sent a few to Mike to help me out with here. So I'll kind of turn it over to him.
Yeah, we can compile a list of answers and send it across a written format, so those who are not going to see the AMA can also get those answers. Okay.
I think look, I think what we can do is look, we're almost hitting the top of the hour, and we do spend quite a bit of time going over. So let's just consolidate some questions and put them out there. Look, I know people have put questions out. I invested way back. And I haven't ever claimed my coins, and why am I not getting a response? Well, the simple thing is that there's a number of processes that have to be followed for people to be able to claim those coins. Because they didn't go through the process a long time ago, we've then got to go back, and that creates a lot of manual work for the guys like Leo and the other boys in the back end. So we will get to them. Don't panic, but it's a slow process.
Yeah, and I think what we'll do is, probably after a certain timeline, like after 3 to 4 days, we'll summarize the AMA, and whatever questions you have in here, we'll put it in there, put a response, and we'll post it. So you have a summary of the AMA with you as well, along with the questions that were asked in the comments. So we don't take the AMA completely off the topic. Okay, so the last words. I think the community is doing great on Twitter. I do see familiar faces on that. Cryptonaut, of course, with your handle out there. But I think Mark is also doing well. I call crypto, with the summary on the quantum paper. So if you have not seen that summary, and Starlord, of course, there are so many of them out there, Chymist, who are constantly on, putting out good things. I think just keep up, those comments and those reposts. It really helps, and we definitely come a long way, since September, October last year, into this quarter, and it definitely shut some people's mouth up. And we'll continue to keep doing those good things as we keep progressing. And yeah, looking forward to a great Q2, great start, and yeah, looking forward to the next one.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks,
Great,
guys.
great update.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care. See ya.